Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Now before I begin talking about Jurassic Park, I wanted to give a thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. This brand new mobile game is extremely ambitious, and it's quickly becoming one of the most immersive experiences that you'll find on a smartphone. The high level of detail in the graphics makes it comparable to many of the biggest PC and console titles that are out today, and it even has an awesome moment early on where you fight a giant dragon. This game has everything you've come to expect from new RPG titles in a fantasy setting, like an incredible storyline, super cool boss battles, player versus player fights, and seriously, graphics so good that troglodyte Karen wishes she was able to play it. Now, there's a special launch tournament happening right now, and it's blowing up really fast. Luckily, if you go to the description of this video and download the game only through my link, you'll be able to get 50,000 silver immediately. And you know what else you get when you do this? You'll automatically get entered into a special launch tournament and be able to compete with guys like me and other players for some killer in-game prizes. And you know the greatest part about Raid Shadow Legends? It's the fact that the game is completely free.
At no expense.
So be sure to check out Raid in the link in my description and start winning today.
A few weeks ago, a British family on a yacht cruise stumbled across the island, and their wee girl was injured. The board has used the incident to take control of InGen from me. And now it's only a matter of time before this lost world is found and pillaged.
You signed a non-disclosure agreement before you went to the island that expressly forbade you from discussing anything you saw. You violated that agreement.
Yeah, I did, and you lied. You twisted the facts surrounding the deaths of 3 people.
Casting my mind back to 1997 when I first saw The Lost World, I was around 8 years old, and I remember really loving the film right from the get-go.
It's so obvious right off the bat that this movie is different. I think the creators want you to know that this is not Nublar. There is no excitement about visiting this island. And the endless fade in from black at the very start is a huge statement, I think, that says, well, to quote Luke Skywalker, this is not going to go the way you think.
So I was 12 when The Lost World came out, so when I first saw it, I think I was at the perfect age to appreciate like just having more dinosaurs on screen. So it was like Jurassic Park on steroids to me at 12, so that's my main memory from it, just the buzz being huge and toys everywhere and, you know what I mean, things like that really.
I thought the film was a brilliant follow-up to Jurassic Park. It's much darker, maybe even a bit more adult in tone, and seeing the dinosaurs living wild and without human interference just gave me flashbacks to all those Willis O'Brien and Ray Harryhausen films.
22 years ago, on May 23, 1997, The Lost World Jurassic Park was released to the public and broadened the dinosaur franchise into more than just one adventure. The sequel to what was back then the biggest film of all time had a wide variety of brand new dinosaurs, nearly an entirely different cast, and the film also managed to have a collection of incredible scenes that still to this very day resonate in the minds of Jurassic fans far after the movie had come and gone. And what's so cool about these scenes is just how different all of them are and how much variety this second movie offered up as far as dinosaur moments go when you compare it to the first. Turn the movie on at any random point in the runtime and you've got an awesome piece of filmmaking.
The scene where all the InGen people are running after the dinosaurs through that kind of like deserty canyon on the island, I think is one of the coolest scenes in the whole Jurassic Park franchise. It's also the first time we ever see the Mamenchisaurus, which we've never seen again besides Jurassic World Evolution, and I think it is so awesome just seeing this stampede of dinosaurs running around. It is really, really awesome.
My favourite part of The Lost World has to be where the hunters chase down all of the herbivores on the game trail. The scene where the camera follows the motorcyclist through that Mamenchisaurus's legs, and you see him surrounded by Parasaurolophus, Pachycephalosaurus, and Gallimimus. It just felt something new and different that I hadn't seen before in the series, and something that when I was a kid I just really wanted to see.
There's something truly special about Malcolm's journey to the island for me. John Williams just sets the tone of intrigue, I think, as Spielberg kind of weaves through the dangers of this mission. And then Williams just comes back and caps it off with a bit of adventure as the RV and the Mercedes just roar through the valley.
There's this moment where Kelly is in the back of the RV in Eddie's workshop and she's looking at the maps of the islands, and the camera pans in and it just cuts to this gorgeous aerial shot of the boat in the ocean heading towards Isla Sorna, and the musical cue from John Williams is just absolutely fantastic.
My favourite moment is the opening, the ominous feeling you get when Kathy wanders off into the jungle and she comes across the Compi for the first time. It's just really eerie, and the whole situation escalates very quickly with the group surrounding her and attacking her. A really blood-pumping scene.
I'd say my best moment in The Lost World is probably in the High Hide, because I remember Malcolm having that little speech saying how safe they were and nothing's going to get them, and it's eerily silent, and then all of a sudden you hear that massive Rex roar.
So I'm of the mindset that The Lost World Jurassic Park has the best intro for the T-Rex out of all of the movies. Ian Kelly and Eddie Carr are all up inside the High Hide, and you know, Ian says we're in a perfectly different situation right now, something like that, and then you instantly hear the T-Rex roar off in the distance and it echoes across all of Site B. That, as a kid, I remember that really just putting a big smile on my face.
When the Rexes are attacking the camp, that is such a cool set piece and sequence, beginning from basically them sniffing their way into the camp, and then the ambush and the foot chase that follows, and then concluding with Roland Timbo facing off with Buck Tyrannosaur. The entire sequence is just everything that Jurassic Park and the Lost World movie were meant to be. It just emanates of just that visceral experience, and that's one of the reasons why that moment and just that set piece is so amazing.
How can you pick just one moment in The Lost World? I mean, come on, whether it's "Don't go into the long grass" or the Rexes pushing the RV over the cliff, everything. There's just so much cool moments in this movie that I can't really just pick one.
The two T-Rexes coming to the rescue of their infant. It's really claustrophobic feeling inside of the trailer, but then outside of it, it's dark, it's rainy, it's really intense, and it's just classic Jurassic in the sense that you have the dinosaurs as part of the threat, but the other part of the threat is you might go over a cliff and die.
I think for me, and this is actually my favorite moment in the entire franchise, and not just Lost World, but the moment that you see that warning sign flash up on the screen, and we get a look at some dude's hands pulling out the tranquilizer darts before he starts loading them into the air rifle. There's just something about that really sends me over the edge. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm the kind of fan that idolized Roland Timbo more than Dr. Grant or Dr. Malcolm from the movies. And just seeing this true individual go up against the buck T-Rex with absolute determination and dedication to the task really resonated with me. John Williams' music elevates Spielberg's long shot of Roland holding the dart in his mouth while we move closer to the dinosaur, and when he finally does shoot it, you realize just how serious the situation is. He could die right now, and he honestly doesn't care. In his immortal words, he didn't come here to die. He came here to live. And that kind of mentality is just, it's everything to me, man. Watching that scene, it's incredible. But you know, for a very long time, The Lost World was not exactly looked upon as fondly as it kind of is now. Once upon a time, there wasn't really a lot of Jurassic fans rallying behind it. In fact, there was a good portion of the fan base that vocally expressed their disappointment and frustration with the sequel upon its initial release. You have to remember, back then, there was more focus on Jurassic Park being a property of Michael Crichton that was getting turned into a movie. And so when the film strayed so heavily from the novel, you can imagine a lot of the older folks weren't too happy with Mr. Spielberg. Other such criticisms included things like a lack of character development for anyone in the film, which is honestly true. The only character that gets an arc is in fact Roland Timbo, whom I was just talking about. But then you got the other complaints like the fact that nobody in Santiago was present to kill the T-Rex, Sarah Harding being dumb for not getting rid of the blood on her shirt, and Roland being also dumb for not getting rid of it after he even makes note of it. You've got the criticism with the film being less realistic than Jurassic Park, which is, in my honest opinion, it's almost borderline sophistry. Plot armor for characters like Grant and Malcolm, and especially Tim, is put on full display in the movie more than once. Real-world physics and even science isn't exactly very tangible if you try to test any of it out. DNA does have a shelf life after all, so to me that's always been one of the funnier complaints. I personally find the hate towards any of the Jurassic sequels to be meme-worthy in some instances. But behind every cynic you'll find a disappointed idealist, I suppose. Someone that just couldn't accept the next chapter after it failed to live up to some awkwardly high expectations, to say the least.
I still find myself sifting through the muck and mire of hate for The Lost World. It is a shame, really, but all these years later, we are left with the best score, some of the most quotable moments, and the best ending to any Jurassic film. So I'm just going to sit back, watch the movie, and tell everybody that this film very well may be the best in the Jurassic saga. And I have no problem saying that.
Seeing The Lost World in the theater back in '97, I felt that it fell short for me as a Jurassic film. Obviously, it had a lot to live up to, given how awesome Jurassic Park was, but it was still a Jurassic film. It still had dinosaurs, so in that sense, it's really hard not to enjoy it. On the whole, my thoughts on the film haven't changed a whole lot in the last 22 years. I think I appreciate elements of it more than I did back then, and I think I've really learned to enjoy it for those really great moments that it has. And I think the things it does well do outweigh the things that it doesn't do so well.
I thought it was a really great follow-up, and obviously I still do to this day. I don't like to pick favourites in the Jurassic movies. As many people online might know, I consider number 1, 2, 4 and 5 all equal, because they're not going anywhere, so it's like I don't like to just sort of put a flag on one of them and be like, that's the one I consider my favourite. I see pros and cons in all of them. But The Lost World, I've never separated it from the first one at that time, because when there was only 2 films, I didn't think that The Lost World was any less of a movie than the first one.
Now, I don't really remember how I felt when I first watched the movie because I was a little kid, but there's always this deep, dark vibe that I get while watching The Lost World. I don't know, it just feels so real compared to the other Jurassic Parks, even more than the original Jurassic Park. It's almost like actually going out into the woods. You know, I'm a big nature guy. I love going outside. The Lost World hits that to a real fine point.
I thought that The Lost World has always had this vibe of more of like a wildlife preserve, which is the reason that I love it so much, because it really feels, at least the first half of the movie before they make it to the mainland, that all the dinosaurs are truly wild, and this is what John Hammond really envisioned, besides, Jurassic Park, but letting the dinosaurs really just run free and be in the wild, I think is so cool. And that's kind of the thing that I draw the most from The Lost World, and it's why I really love it, because it just feels like a truly wild film.
So when I first saw The Lost World, it was definitely almost more of an adventure kind of movie for me. It didn't seem like as much of a horror kind of sense as the first one. There was a lot of horror and a lot of discovery there too, since we've basically gone through that journey of discovering what the dinosaurs are and what they're like and everything like that. That's more solidified, so I really feel like they played more the adventure aspect of this, kind of exploring a park without fences, if you will. So it definitely has that vibe to it, especially when they are first rounding up the dinosaurs. That epic kind of vehicle convoy scene really encapsulates that.
I think looking back on The Lost World after all this time, 22 years I believe it is now, any sequel is met with polarizing viewpoints from both its fan base and sort of the general audience. Obviously, The Lost World was a huge box office smash in terms of its revenue when it came out, but obviously back then there was this division, and that's always going to be the case, I think, with sequels, mainly like all sequels. I mean, name a Jurassic Park sequel, because we're talking about this franchise. think of any of the sequels to Jurassic Park that haven't been met with both love and hate.
Looking back at the movie, 20 plus years in the future, I've learned that a lot of people didn't like it as much as I did, which is kind of crap, sorry. If you don't like it, I don't really get it. Yeah, it's not like Jurassic Park, but this movie is fun. There are a couple dumb scenes, but it still holds up to this day. And like I said earlier, I still think this is the best looking Jurassic Park. That scene at the end of the movie with the Rexes and all the different wildlife, yes. That's why I love The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
22 years ago. Wow, I can't believe it's that old. I can't believe I'm that old. That's just depressing. But more importantly, 22 years ago we saw gymnastics kill a raptor. And unpopular opinion, but I'm a fan of that scene. Sorry guys, they cut you from the team?
Hey, it's Stephen Ray Morris here from See Jurassic Right. 22 years later, my favorite moment in The Lost World, and the thing that actually holds up really well and is fun, and I need more of it in my Jurassic, is Kelly knocking the shit out of that raptor. Oh, also the Parasaurolophus.
I think looking back, it is so cool to see that the special effects and the practical effects in The Lost World and in the first Jurassic Park, but mostly The Lost World, really hold up really, really well up until today's cinema. And I just think you look back, it's super realistic, and it really still feels like those first feelings when I was a kid watching that movie, that you're in a wildlife preserve, or when the compies first attack in the first scene in the movie, that they're real, that these are actual practical animals that they used for a movie.
I mean, it certainly doesn't feel like it's been 22 years, especially watching the film. I mean, it doesn't look dated. The special effects are still top notch. I mean, it just still stands out as one of the greatest movies in the franchise, if not of all time.
It's really amazing how long it's been since The Lost World's come out. It almost seems like it was yesterday. I think one of the things that kind of resonates with me with that is looking at The Lost World RV and seeing it on screen, and within the last few years, I got to actually work on it and be inside essentially that mobile set. And part of that experience was kind of the inspiration that led to me making my own fan film, Jurassic World Exodus, which kind of tries to harken back to some of those cool moments from the past and kind of trying to encapsulate my military experience in that. But so for me, looking back on The Lost World just kind of takes me to that feeling of wanting to make some Jurassic Park or Jurassic World movies or flicks or any kind of dino flick, because that's kind of where the beginning of my inspiration for that really came from, when I started to understand film a little bit more and really understand that enjoyment for dinosaurs and stuff and kind of the collecting craze and whatnot. So that's kind of what Lost World means to me all these years later.
As far as the mixed reception the film garnered upon release, I gotta be honest and say I don't really think about it too much anymore. There was a point in time where I used to think wholeheartedly that Lost World was the most underrated film in the franchise. But then Fallen Kingdom came out, and I gotta tell you, it is astonishingly funny to see the parallels between the responses for both movies. When you hear some people idealistically scream that Fallen Kingdom is one of the worst films of all time, you kinda gotta chuckle and laugh at that just because of how absurd the idea is, but also because it's something the series has dealt with before. Websites dedicated to hating Lost World have even cited Spielberg as having ruined the franchise. Say that nowadays and you'd get jumped on by all of Jurassic Outpost or any other main JP outlet. It's a movie I'm well known for having defended and stood up for, and it's one that has really just made a massive impact on kids and adults alike for a lot of incredible reasons. And I think Lost World's impact on the Jurassic series as well as film as a whole is absolutely important. How many times have you seen a movie try to rip off the raptors in the long grass scene, or the trailers over the cliff scene for that matter? Trust me, there is a rabid mass of fans out there that absolutely will show their love for it at any given time, and that's really cool in my opinion because I think it deserves that admiration. I have my own complaints with it, but it's still to this day my personal favorite. It may not be the best in the series, but it's certainly not bad by any stretch of the imagination. But yeah, 22 years. Wow, man. I really can't believe it. Rest in peace, Pete Postlethwaite. Happy birthday, Lost World. Spielberg, you did nothing wrong, and God bless those incredible dinosaurs you brought to the big screen. I'm happy to have grown up with this in my VCR on repeat daily. thank you to everyone involved in this movie's process. Truly, thank you.
Oh, hey guys, don't mind me. I'm just hanging out in front of my Jurassic Park fireplace. I was listening to all you losers talk about The Lost World like it's a good movie. It's the worst Jurassic Park movie ever. You guys are stupid. Everyone knows Jurassic Park 3 is the end-all, be-all greatest Jurassic Park film ever. It's my favorite. I love it. It's the perfect movie, really. And that's why I have this artwork of William H. Macy, made by my good friend Kieran, who talks shit on this movie, but he made me this. Look at that. Look at that. Anyway, I'm skipping this little celebration you're doing. Call me when the Jurassic Park 3 celebration comes. I'll be on board for that. You know, a real movie.
Now before I go, I'd like to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. It really means the world to me that all of you continue to watch my videos, and I never want any of you to forget that. Now, I'd like to thank all of you for watching today's video, and hope you all enjoyed the content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like, and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. See you all in the next video, guys, and as always, take it easy.